rapidly evolving situation here. So with the governor's recent stay home, stay safe order, we are going to keep this to a more truncated webinar of 30 minutes. So I'm going to give a quick, brief intro, and then we're going to dive right into our conversation with Congressman Welch, and then have Chris moderate the Q&A session. And then, as many folks will see in your inboxes, we've provided a link directing you all over to the governor's press conference that the Congressman Welch will actually be in attendance, which will provide some key clarification around the recent stay home, stay safe order. So with that, again, I want to thank you all so much for getting on. I know that these are very, very difficult times for all of us. Just a quick intro from VBSR. So we're Vermont Businesses for Social Responsibility. We're a about 730 member organization representing businesses across the state in every county. And at this point, we push for a triple bottom line of people, planet, and prosperity. And especially in difficult times like this, we want to provide a sense of community and provide as much information as possible to our businesses, both in difficult times and in good times as well. So again, thank you all for getting on. Looking at our agenda, again, as I mentioned, we'll have a little bit more truncated. So I want to first off thank and introduce our speaker as well as our moderator. So our speaker, Congressman Peter Welch. Your Vermont Congressman, really standing on the front lines of policy change in the federal response to COVID-19 in Washington. And then also Chris Graff, former longtime journalist and now newsmaker, who is going to be monitoring our Q&A session. So I hope you all will join me in thanking the Congressman and Chris for hopping on today. And with that, I am going to turn it over to the Congressman. I believe that he should be on. I know that he'll be calling in, is on the move to the press conference.
He is on the call right now, but he's muted, I believe. So we're trying to fix that.
Oh, goodness. Well, appreciate everyone's patience. And I will say it's lovely to see many of you. And again, appreciate you all getting on. So yeah, I guess we will give ourselves one moment here. Oh, I see we already have questions rolling in. And it's worth noting for folks, again, apologies that this is going to be a little bit shortened. For any outstanding questions or anything we don't get to as part of the broader Q&A session, please feel free to reach out to me directly, and I will either answer to the best of my ability, or we can forward some of that on to the Congressman and his staff as well. So again, appreciate you all getting on, and we will just take a brief pause here as we wait for Congressman Welch to get on. Yeah, the running joke that we have here is essentially, it follows Murphy's Law when it comes to technical meetings like this, as we sort of adjust to what is sort of the new normal right now in the wake of COVID-19. So, again, appreciate everyone's patience, and I am really touched right now, particularly within the Vermont business community. Everyone recognizes how difficult these times are, but there has been this tremendous sense of community within our membership and outside of our membership to respond to this in a united, supportive way. So again, thanks everybody. Oh, Rebecca, you're muted. Oh, still muted. Oh gosh.
Can you hear Congressman?
There you go.
I could hear before.
Okay, they can. Yep, they can hear you.
Okay, I can't hear them. I can't hear you guys, but let me just do two things. Number one, I want to say thank you. It's unbelievable what is happening with this virus, the extraordinary impact on the lives of the people that you work with. And it's just, it's brutal. There's nothing else that can be said. And we've got this very, very serious health pandemic where the step we have to take, social distancing, has immediate and dire consequences for the economy. All of us have confidence we'll somehow, some way get through it. but any of these businesses, smaller businesses, where the employees really matter to you, where their paycheck to paychecks depend on it, we want to provide some help to get through to the other side. But when that other side comes, we want the business to be strong enough to start up again, full force. The governor, of course, is leading on the social distancing decisions that are being made here. I support what Governor Scott is doing. And in Washington, we're coming very close to the third dramatic, about $2 billion. And I'm just going to outline the elements of it. One is for individuals. Unemployment compensation could be extended with additional $600. So if somebody who's eligible in Vermont, the maximum, which is over 500, they could get an additional 600. That's 1,100 a week plus for 4 months. Number two, the unemployment would apply not just to folks on the payroll, but independent contractors and self-employed people. It would be based on last year's wages. That is the huge extension. It's going to take some immense pressure off of the paycheck-to-paycheck folks who are the majority in Vermont. Second, there's going to be about $400 billion in loans/grants for small business. Don't have the details, obviously, but the intention here is to help you keep your folks on the payroll. And you, if, as I understand what's being discussed now, you could get a loan, but if that was then distributed to your employees, hopefully they'll be around to actually can open the doors again. That would be transformed into a grant. In my individual conversations with many people, it's pretty clear that you're not in a position to take on more debt. That's no favor to you. So the grants are the way to go. Next, for the state, there's going to be a state aid fund. You know, there's a huge hit on the Vermont revenues and a huge hit on the need for Vermont services. Right now, there's about $100 billion that is available to be distributed to the states to assist. Most of us believe that's a down payment because the burden on the states is going to be much greater. The next is help to the hospitals. Their bottom lines have already been whacked. They've been told they can't do elective surgery, and generally that's the difference between red ink and black ink for them. So there's going to be money distributed to all of our hospitals here in Vermont. And then finally, there's going to be an individual check that can be up to $1,200. And it goes for if you make 75 grand or less, you can get on a scale up to that amount, and then it gets, I think it stops at 90,000. So there's aid to individuals, there's aid to small business, there's aid to state, and there's aid to our healthcare facilities. My view on this is that the only mistake we can make is by doing too little, too late. We've got to err on the side of too much, too soon. It's got to be very, very significant. We've got to sustain it. It's the only way we're going to be able to support folks who are complying with the social distancing requirements to push back on the illness. And it is the only way we're going to give our economy a fighting chance to come back when the lights are back on. So again, my job in a lot of ways, people think it's a big deal. I'm down there in Washington and dealing with those characters that I have to deal with. It is nothing compared to your job. You're really on the front line. You got folks who are showing up and devoted to you and to the mission, the triple bottom line mission you have. Your businesses are like family. Gives people not just an income, but a sense of belonging and a sense of contribution to the community. And you have to deal with the very real practical challenge of day-to-day getting through this. So I want to express to you my enormous gratitude and appreciation for the challenge that you're facing. I hope you've heard me, and I'll stop there and turn it over to questions from Chris, who I hope I can hear.
So, Rebecca, it doesn't sound like the Congressman is hearing us directly. Do you want to reply?
No, I can hear you now, Chris.
You can hear me. That's great. Hello, Peter.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I just want to say we know we're losing you to go to a Governor Scott press conference, and you were with him, the governor, on Monday. And I just think all of us applaud you and the governor are an example of the bipartisan effort that has disappeared from most of America. It's been a trait of your career going all the way back to 1981, and we applaud you for reaching across the aisle and doing what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you.
And I have one question before we get going. I just, when you were going through 2008, 2009, and you sort of thought you were in a moment of history at the worst possible time for America, did you ever think that by 2020 you would be considering even bigger relief and recovery actions and stronger action by the Congress?
I never in a million years, even, a week ago Saturday, when we were voting on the second tiny package, $8.3 billion, we were so far from where we are today that we had 600 people on the House floor when we voted at 1 in the morning. I mean, there was discussion about social distancing, but it was not embraced or implemented at all. And since then, of course, we've seen that curve spike like it is in Italy. And all of our, not all, but a lot of our governors are taking the action that's required. And then, the idea, I've never lived through a challenge like this where we have to shut down much of the economy in order to have a chance to protect the people we love.
So all of our people on this webinar, if you want to use the Q&A function, if you have a question for the Congressman, we will relay those questions. Our first question is from Dan Groberg, who's the director of Montpelier Alive. And Peter, there's a lot of questions that Dan's asking here, and they seem perhaps more detailed than you know, because all of this happened at 1 a.m. and you're still learning about it. But I will read, and if there's any part of this you can answer. He says, lots of questions about the small business loans and the new stimulus package. What are the rules around payroll in order to receive loan forgiveness? All payroll must stay on. Reductions in time. What about businesses who've already laid off employees? How long is the requirement for keeping people on payroll to get forgiveness? If people get one of the currently available SBA loans, how does that affect eligibility for the new loans? There's a lot in there, and I'm not sure what you can address. And maybe one of the takeaways for things that you can address is that Rebecca and Jordan can work together to get answers to some of these specific questions.
Well, first of all, he's asking the heart of the right questions, and there is literally no answer to them right now. The way we're proceeding, keep in mind, this all negotiation started like a week ago and affecting $2 trillion. So the biggest challenge that has been underway between the House and the Senate and the President is defining what will we allocate significant aid to. And that's where there was a significant battle about the hospital, a huge battle about unemployment, a big fight about whether businesses got grants or loans, and a big fight about the question whether there'd be state aid. And the parties have largely come together and accepted those as the categories as I laid them out. And, in my world, the biggest challenge is to get agreement on the category and then the amount of aid. And the negotiators are not into the details. But the bottom line, so I would say two things. Number one, it's very good news that that category of aid for small businesses helped by the grants, they're helped by the unemployment benefits that are available to folks who work for you at no expense to the state or expense to you, okay? It doesn't affect your rating. So that is helpful. What we're going to have to do, Patrick, Bernie, and I, along with others, is then set up a mechanism to answer these detailed questions. work with VBSR so that when you have to make decisions, we can tell you as soon as we know what the rules are and even weigh in as the rules are being made. So absolutely good question, but there's not an answer I don't think that anybody can give you today.
Okay. Is there help in the bill, as far as you know, for nonprofits? That's a question that's popping up here on our chat.
I don't know right now, but we've been advocating for that. And as long as the nonprofit is doing work that's related to COVID, in the call that we had yesterday, that's what Pelosi was focusing on. All of our nonprofits are really affected. Take the Flint, for instance, it's dark, and that's really an important organization. So I'd like to see us be able to help them. But I think right now, I'm not positive, but I think right now it would have to be connected with some response to the COVID. So that's to be determined.
Another question: to the best of your knowledge, can or will President Trump rescind Governor Scott's stay-at-home order?
I don't believe he will. I mean, you know, that's the whole scene with the president. But the governors have been taking the lead on the public health measures. Governor Scott here, of course, Governor Cuomo, Governor Newsom, Governor Hogan. You know, it's been bipartisan. The governors, some are different. Governor DeSantis is much more casual about these public health measures, and their numbers are going up. But what I've seen, just as an observer, is that governors, by and large, are jumping on this, and it includes Republicans and Democrats. And the White House has been staying away from micromanaging what a governor does.
Let's see. A couple of questions that are asking about funds for healthcare supplies, like masks. Is anything being done to speed up production of supplies? Those are two separate questions, I know, but I'm packaging them together for you.
Well, the money is there for personal protective equipment and for the mask. I don't know the answer. So the money is there. That's what we can do. But we can't legislate the production. The president has the authority of the emergency declaration, where if it came to it, he could actually order companies to produce the products we need. And I'd be fine with that. But we've legislated or we're appropriating the money for that. It's a managerial and executive function about getting the production done. Something you guys know about. You know, you set the goal, but then how do you execute? And of course, we've been way behind. Two things that we failed on in this country was the preparation. You know, we used to have an office that was devoted to preparation for a pandemic, and that was abolished a couple of years ago. And we don't produce the supplies that we need: ventilators, masks, personal protective equipment. So we're playing catch up on that, and that's hurting us.
So you talked about the bill you were voting on previously, a week ago Saturday. Now there's this vote, which may hopefully come this week. Where do you think this is in the stage process? A lot of people are talking about this $2 trillion bill is a relief bill. It's still focused on relief. Do you see that there are more stages ahead as we focus on recovery?
I do. I think this is just the beginning. But I think this bill reflects $2 trillion. I mean, that's unbelievable. All right. And if anything, people think it may not be enough. The folks in this organization, you know the impact. You had to close the door. I mean, that is like full stop and no sales. I mean, that's across the economy. Families without a paycheck. So we don't know how long this virus will continue. We don't know when we'll succeed in bending the curve. And then we don't know whether the virus will flare up or flame out. We just don't know. So I think most of us expect that we're going to have to do more down the road. So that's what I think.
A question from another from the chat is there a benefit to our employees to continue working in an essential business? Is there going to be extra pay for them staying on the front lines?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, it's a fair question. I was shopping for groceries early this morning. God bless those clerks in the in the grocery store. God bless those folks on the front line in healthcare, because they're there all day and people are coming and going. And they're trying to do the social distancing, but they're exposed. They're not, staying in their home. So, they certainly are deserving, but whether that's included, I don't know at this point. Chris, this got to be the last question. I'm rolling into Montpelier, and I got to run up to the 5th floor.
Well, I'll let you just have the final word, Peter, if you have anything that you want people to know before you leave.
All right. I am a huge admirer of VBSR. And, I wish all our businesses had your commitment to your employees, your community, and the bottom, that's part of your triple bottom line. We need that. But what you have is what this country needs. And that's what's going to get us through. Just the recognition that, all right, we got a problem. It's a big problem. It's a big public health issue, but the mission is protect the public health, the people that we all love, and revive this economy. And we're going to figure it out as we go along. But I think this fact that we've got a very divided Congress about to come together on a $2 trillion program that has as its primary focus individuals and communities is a positive. It's very positive.
So Peter,
thank you all very much.
Thank you so much for this today. Before you go, there are more than 80 businesses represented on this call right now, and on behalf of them, we're all concerned for your health. So please take care of yourself.
I will. And by the way, we're all in, so we can do this again. I mean, this is going to be a while. So thank you.
Okay.
Thank
and
you.
I'll let Rebecca and Jordan see if you want to give people either information on the links to the governor's press conference or just any closing words.
Absolutely. So a couple of pieces. So again, folks, I want to thank everyone for getting on, and apologies for having sort of a truncated session. To the best of my ability in looking at some of these questions, I do want to try and address at least one or two before we wrap up here. So we had one when we opened up as to what future offerings will be provided by VBSR. So we'll send up a follow-up email on this, but we have a steady series of webinars going on, ranging from anywhere from how to secure childcare during these difficult times to the federal response to COVID-19. And transitioning over to remote work. In addition to that, I will be planning some additional webinars both with our federal delegation, but also with our state legislators to talk about both the federal response and state response to COVID-19. And then another question, so between having my team go on unemployment or trying to get a loan for my business, to keep them on payroll. What I would say is that with the recent stay home, stay safe order, it really depends on what your industry is. If you are considered an essential employer, an essential industry, then you're able to remain in operations. Then maybe securing a business loan is your best move. If you are in a situation where you are being sort of forced to close your doors or move solely to online or shipping orders, that might be the time to have certain members of your team go on to unemployment. In addition to that, Karen, I wanted to build off on the support for nonprofits. There is one piece that I think is certainly of value in terms of the expansion for sick leave and paid family leave and the tax credits associated with that. So again, providing that expanded leave and paid family leave for employees. The tax credit that is associated with that, which essentially alleviates the cost of the benefits paid while employees are on leave, that is available to nonprofits, which is, out of the norm under normal circumstances because nonprofits don't pay income taxes. They normally are not subject to such tax credits, but they are in this particular instance. What I will say, and again, we're heading toward the top of the hour, I just want to thank everyone and know that we will be putting together additional guidance that will be coming up on our website. I also send out weekly updates with information every Monday coming from both the State House and now from our federal government as well with clarification on these bills. So please stay tuned to our website. Keep an eye out on your inboxes and for future offerings from VBSR. This session will also be recorded and available on our website. And then as far as a pivot over to the press conference, so you all should have a link in your inboxes that'll direct you over to the governor's press conference on the recent stay home, stay safe order, which will provide some pretty valuable clarification as to where, when, and how you can do business in these difficult times. So with that, I'll turn it over to Rebecca for some closing remarks. And again, on behalf of VBSR, on behalf of our staff, our business community, I just want to thank you all for getting on. Thank Chris and thank the Congressman and his staff.
And likewise, I just want to thank everyone for participating and thank VBSR for hosting this call. The big bill that's being considered right now, where the deal was struck last night, it hasn't yet even been voted on, unless it got voted on in the last half an hour by the Senate, and it still needs to be approved by the House. But once that happens, each of the committees that worked on drafting parts of the bill will have fact sheets, and so those are usually pretty user-friendly, so we'll be able to distribute links to all of those fact sheets just as soon as it becomes a final law. And happy to send that along to you. And also feel free to contact our office if you have any questions, or me directly. And our office website is just welch.house.gov. And if you call us at 802-652-2450, because we are all working remotely now, you'll have to leave a message, but we're checking the messages constantly. They're turned into MP3s and they're forwarded to the staff person who can answer your questions. So thanks so much, and thanks for participating.
Alrighty, folks, well, we're going to wrap up. I just threw in the chat as well. If anyone has any questions for myself or any of us at VBSR, I've put my contact information in there as well. And we'll be providing some follow-up materials to folks who registered as well. So again, thank you all. Would highly encourage folks to tune in for the press conference starting within the next minute, and please stay tuned. We are committed to providing more resources and more information on legislation as it comes up. So again, please stay safe, stay healthy, and thank you all for getting on.
Second, we're going to do a test here.
Right. All hands. 4-1. 3, 2, 1. 7-3-1. Go. 4-2-2-2. Well, I guess I go with subtitles.
Great, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like the deaf.
John, are you?
They're not going to know.
John, are you on, or do you need me to admit you?
Yeah, they do.